Standing up in McKinney, this is, according to Callis, coming to you on the 17th of February, the year of our Lord, 2025. This is episode 722. It is a Monday, so we're going to do a McKinney Monday. That's right. Last week, Friday, was the last day to file to run for the municipal races. Now, it will be of interest to you to know that the mayor of McKinney has termed out. The gentleman that was in the at-large race won, or candidate at-large, I guess. Well, no, just city council at-large won. I think that's the proper way to say that. He is also termed out. The councilman in District 1 is going to end up running unopposed. He has a second term available to him. And council member in District 3, she has one more term, but she's picked up a opponent. We'll visit that again in a moment. We have 5 people running for that at-large seat that I previously mentioned, and we have 4 people running for city council. For the mayor of the city council. Wow, it's been a day. And if you jump over into the school board races, there are indeed 4 races going up. 1 and 3, which quite frankly are the 2 guys that should have been challenged, have no challengers, Larry and Harvey. And then place 2 and place 3. Place 2, Philip Hassler decided to not run for another term, so that is an open seat. And place 3, Chad Green's going to go for a second term against a fellow by the name of Corey Homer. And we'll revisit those shortly. So that's what's on the agenda for today. We're going to talk about the candidates, some of their, let's say, relative strengths and or weaknesses. And I'm going to try and give you an objective shot on what I think is going to happen. And as time goes on, we'll talk about the individual candidates. Perhaps we'll even get an interview or two out of the situation here. And just know that I'm a big fan of what's going to be happening. We have a mayoral debate that's going to happen. The 4 candidates running for mayor are all going to be meeting on the 18th. And the Collin County Young Republicans are putting that on in partnership with a number of other organizations. You should go check that out. In addition to that, we are looking at perhaps doing something beyond that. There is a minimal $10 fee that is strictly to offset the costs and, a little fundraising there while you're at it. Nothing's free, nor should it be. So there will be light refreshments, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So come check it out. But in the meantime, let's get on with the show. And before we do, once again, all I need from you right here, right now, is to like, share, subscribe to this here podcast. Follow me on your podcatcher of choice. Join me on your social media. Like, share, follow, whatever floats your boat there. And as they say, I have a page and a group at Facebook. I'm a pro at Gab. I drop in at MeWe. And for now, you can still find the program over at YouTube. And, of course, all the various podcatchers, Spotify, Apple, Google. Apparently, you can catch me on Audible. Didn't know that. And, of course, my host, Podbean, which I just haven't found a better option for that yet. And I got to tell you, the shadow ban they're allowing to happen to me is not making me a happy camper, but it is what it is. We carry on, we move on, and we make the best of it. And that is overcome by your liking, your sharing, your following, and quite frankly, comments, rating, review. It's all very, very helpful. All right, so here we go on with the program. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about this mayoral race. So now 8 years ago, we had a race that had the mayor pro tem versus the current mayor versus a third guy, which I got to tell you, I voted for him kind of as a protest vote, but he dropped out at the very last minute and endorsed the guy that ultimately won. So we've had Mayor Fuller. It will be 8 years when his term is up. Love him or hate him, he's done a number of, I would say, positive things for the city, in fairness. I won't outline what I think they are because I think a lot of that's up to the eye of the beholder. But he's sailing off into the sunset now. Respect. Looking forward to his retirement, I imagine. So we have to have a replacement. So first out of the blocks was a fellow by the name of Bill Cox. From what I know about Bill, he was a former city council member. He was currently on the Planning and Zoning Board as the chairman, which he resigned from that in order to run for mayor. I know there's various accusations floating around on the interwebs about things that maybe he did or didn't do. I guess at this point it'd be 17 years ago, if I do the math right. I don't know enough about it to comment one way or the other, but I imagine that's not going to go away. The family's been here for at least 3 generations. They've been intimately involved in the city. I don't have an opinion one way or the other about the guy per se, but it would seem to me that the McKinney machine, right, the McKinney team wants this guy there. It'd be more of the same now. But what do I mean by the same? More on the trajectory of where we've been going at the city level. Building out, planning out. And I don't think that's necessarily terrible. So don't overread that or don't overlook. Don't overthink that and don't read into what I'm saying. I think the city's going to build out no matter what happens. We just need to be smart about how we do it. I don't know that anyone would be in a better position to see what's happened in the past or the recent past than a guy that's been running P&Z. Now, if you hate what's been going on in P&Z, then you probably don't want to be the guy to be mayor. Just saying. All right. The next option, if you will, be none other than former state representative Scott Sanford. Now, full disclosure, when the time comes, I am likely to endorse Scott. I think that Scott was a good state representative. He's always been solid in everything he's done. I know the guy personally. I don't know that I'd say we're friends, but we're certainly pretty good acquaintances. And I got to say, bringing to the table is a wealth of experience of dealing with Austin and various people. I think that there's probably going to be some legitimate questions about things that were done at the state level to curtail the authority and actions of the cities and municipal districts. I think that's a fair question. I will say that one of the things that I was always critiquing, or I maybe even hard on him about, and you can go look at my older episodes, I just didn't think he brought enough fire in the belly for Austin, right? You know, he was in a very solid red district. I thought he could have been more aggressive. That was my critique. But I got to tell you, his temperament, his experience set, and just the guy who he is, he's ideally suited for this level, for being the mayor, leading well, working on consensus, not being a bomb thrower, for lack of a better phrase. He's just a really solid guy, very smart business. He brings all those things that I would have seen maybe as a negative when he was at Austin. I think they're his biggest asset going into the city. So, yeah, I'm on Team Sanford, if you will, but everybody deserves a fair shot and needs to be heard, which is what this debate's going to do. Looking forward to seeing that. We've got the moderators of the two fellows over at the McKinney podcast. One's a personal friend of mine. The other guy I just met, today, actually. So, but they are far more nonpartisan than I am. So I thought that they would be ideal to moderate this. And I'm looking forward to the feedback and all that come to see this. In addition to that, we're going to have Taylor Willingham. Apparently he's an attorney. Apparently he's done some different things that set him up to where he might be a good advocate for the city, and reevaluating what we've been doing and whether or not we should continue to do those. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was, I guess, fairly critical of the priorities the city's put on the airport and certain kinds of development, thinking perhaps we should focus more on infrastructure. And I think that's a fair point. Whether or not you agree with that, I think that's something, a flavor that we need to hear. We need to hear the arguments why and what's going to be done about that. So again, check it out. All right, and the fourth one in this is none other than Matt Rostami. Now, I know Doc Rostami. I've met the guy several times at different Republican events and things, and yes, this will be his third race that I'm aware of. One thing I want to give the guy credit for is he finds an issue or he finds a concern, and he goes after it. He invests his time, his money, his voice to go speak on the issues. Now, whether or not you actually agree with the guy, he puts his money and his time where his mouth is. So credit, should go where credit is due. So we have 4 candidates. Now, stepping back, I think it's very likely it's a 2-man race. But it's a 2-man race with 2 other candidates that aren't going to go quietly into the night. And we could very easily get a runoff on this. And I think that's very good. I think it's very interesting to see how this plays out. I think the city of McKinney is more successful when we have more discussion, more debate on what's being done and why it's being done. And hopefully we'll get some people engaged and interested in what's going on. And I look forward to each one of the candidates being able to speak for themselves and lay out their vision and what they see the future of McKinney looks like. Because as the mayor, they drive the agenda. They're only one vote, but they drive the agenda. So it's very important. All right, so from there, we're going to pivot over to the at-large seat 1. Now, we've got 5 people in this race. Now, as of last night or the night before, I thought we only had 4. So very happy with who the 5th person is, and we'll get to that here in a minute. So Taha Ansari, I believe if I remember correctly, the guy is a doctor. And then he's running because he cares about McKinney. I mean, what else could you ask for? You want a candidate that cares about McKinney. Now, what does that mean? What is his vision? I would encourage you to go find out. Check it out and see what's what. I think it's fair to say that anybody that goes to the time and effort to apply to run for office ought to be at least given the courtesy of checking them out. I would also include Derek Tarver. Yes, that's the other guy that's running. Now, I got to be honest. I'd never heard of either of these guys before. I don't know anything about them. Derek, I guess, grew up on the east side of McKinney. He's been here for his whole life. He's now on the west side. He has a couple kids. He's been pretty successful in life, and he wants to give back. I mean, that's... I read through these guys' posts or their websites, if you will. That's what I could tell you about them. Now, again, it's early. The window closed on Friday. So I'd say give them a week and then start checking out their stuff. All right, next on the hopper here is Ernest Lynch. I believe it'd be fair to say Ernest Lynch is on the McKinney team side here, right? He's the party in charge wants him there. I guess that'd just be the way to put it. I don't know the guy. I don't hate the guy. I know nothing about him. Again, to me, this is the safe bet, right? If you like the way things have been going in McKinney, if you think that we're on the right track and that we've done nothing wrong, then this is probably your guy. All right, next one, Jim Garrison. Now, I had the experience of running across this guy in the primary for the Republican race for Commissioner's Court, place 3. He ran against my friend Daryl Hale. Did not do a very impressive job because he was in the race, then out of the race, then he got back in the race. Didn't seem to have a solid message one way or the other. From what I recall, he is a good, solid, staunch Republican, I guess. And, I'm not going to hold that against him because, you know what? I'm a good Republican too, right? So we have lots of flavors on that. So I found it kind of interesting how he ran against Daryl. But again, that's just me nitpicking perhaps. But again, it's an interesting choice. And based upon what he said when he was running for Commissioner's Court, he's got the time and he's got the money and he wants to invest in this. So go for it. Again, this is getting interesting. We're on player number 4, if you will. And then the last guy to sign up, none other than my friend Brian Magnuson. Now, Brian ran 4 years ago for this same exact seat. He's a really good, solid guy. Very even keel, level-headed. I think he came in third the last race go round. So once again, we're looking at very likely a runoff race here. I don't see any dead to rights winner in this bunch. If I were to guess, it's going to be a fight between Garrison and Lynch, and it's a question of who comes in third. But again, my heart goes to Magnuson only because he's done it before and he's a friend of mine, and I think he'd do a really good job as a city council member. But I don't hate any of the other players in this mix. I think it'd be very interesting. And again, as I've said many, many, many times, I don't want the city council to be everybody's on the same page all the time. I don't want just a bunch of rubber stamp council members. I want legitimate argument, debate, discussion going on at the city council. And I want to have multiple views heard out. And I think that's what serves the city better. And it gives everybody knowledge that they're being heard and acknowledged, right? That there is a concern that you have that somebody else on that board, on the council, cares about enough that they bring it up. To me, that's the most important thing. Oh, excuse me. All right. Then we go to District 3, where we've got the incumbent, Dre Feltus. Now, I got to be straight here. From what I understand, she's on the other side of the aisle from me. I wouldn't really know that based upon what I've seen, because our city council largely is in lockstep on a lot of things. And we're ostensibly led by Republicans. So I don't have anything against the lady. Her opponent's Tammy Warren. I know Tammy fairly well. It should be a very interesting race. It's just two of them, so it's going to be a winner take all right off the bat. It should be interesting. And I would encourage you, again, as with all of these candidates, you always show respect for somebody that's willing to put their time and money where their mouth is. They're willing to throw their hat in the ring, if you will. You owe them that. All of them. And of course, Justin Beller in District 1 did not get anybody to run against him. And again, I suspect he's probably on the other side of the aisle with me. Not that that's necessarily a terrible thing, but I've heard nothing but good things about those people that are actually in his district. And from what I know, and coincidentally enough, my former council member followed suit when he heard about how I was talking about Justin Beller meeting with his constituents and setting aside a time. So Patrick Clouthier does the same thing. I don't know what all the rest of our city council members do. I would like to hear from the candidates. Are they going to do something similar? Especially in that at-large race. I mean, to me, that's probably the second most important race is always the at-large because you're representing the city as a whole. Are you going to be willing to listen to divergent views? Are you going to be willing to hear people out? Even if you disagree with them, even if you think they're wrong, can you listen to them? Can you hear them out? So that being said, that's what our city council race looks like in McKinney. All right, let's jump over. We've got this whole ISD thing going on. Now, this is where it gets interesting. You may recall the last city council, the last municipal race season, we had 3 seats up. 3 candidates ran against long-term entrenched people, and they all lost. Now, whether you hated them or loved them, it wasn't as close as I'd hoped it would be, to be quite honest. But this time around, the 2 guys that, quite frankly, are way past their prime, that should have had opponents, are going to skate through unopposed. Now, Larry Jaggers has been there for 1 term. I'd really hoped that he was going to be independent. I really hoped that he was going to be a reformer. That's certainly how he sold himself 4 years ago. The fact that he's on the other side of the aisle for me was less important than the fact that he wanted to be a reformer and he wanted to, look into things or, question the status quo. I was all for that. Even if the proposed solution wasn't something I was comfortable with, the fact that you're willing to acknowledge there's a problem here, that's the start. Well, disappointment. And Harvey Oaxaca, super nice guy, very well thought of. He's starting to show signs of Bidenism. I'm sorry, just true. observation. Don't hate the guy. I actually think very highly of him. I hope he has the sense to retire before it gets bad. Of course, when that happens, the board will appoint his replacement, which we'll probably be stuck with for who knows how long after that. But that being said, those are the two guys that are running unopposed. Ugh. All right. Candidate for place 2. Now, place 2 was formerly held by Philip Hassler, but apparently he didn't want to run for another term, which I got to say I'm very grateful for, because he was, quite frankly, another disappointment, right? Smart guy, an attorney, owns some Chick-fil-A stuff, which is fine. It's great, but you couldn't get him to listen to anybody, and he just didn't really seem interested in hearing people out. My opinion, again, just in case you forgot, it's called According to Callus because it's all my opinion. But he stepped down, so now we're going to get Kenneth Ussery. Now, if I remember correctly, Kenneth Ussery was elected somewhere in the past and served somewhere else in the past. I don't remember much about what he did and why, but we're going to take a moment here. I'm going to briefly pause, and we'll look that up so that we can have that conversation. All right, here we go. Be right back. All right, let's jump in here. So looks like Kenneth Ussery here has been a very busy guy. Now, I thought he served before, and yes, he was indeed on the school board. He stepped down in 2019. So apparently he also is an associate pastor at First Baptist. Seems like there's a whole lot of First Baptist people in that school board that apparently don't follow the teachings of the Baptist Church, but that's a different story. In any case, I don't know anything about this guy other than he formerly served there. He apparently is in real estate and accounting. Looks like he's got a master's degree in emphasis in marriage and family. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is the right guy for the job. Don't know. But I'd be curious to see how that plays out. Running against him is Deborah Klosky, who is, I believe, married to a minister and is a part of one of the local churches here. I will probably end up talking with her later. I think I might even know her husband. So it'd be an interesting race. Looking forward to it. And then we get to place 3. So, full disclosure, my buddy Chad Green is the incumbent. He has been taking the heaps of abuse for the last 4 years, and somehow he found the strength to run for another term. So, peace be with him. And a whole lot of strength, endurance. And he's being taken on by Corey Holmer, which, once again, don't know much about this guy, but apparently he is the establishment's choice. So, I mean, who knows? He might, in fact, be, quote-unquote, a good conservative guy. That remains to be seen. Typically, you don't run good conservative candidates against existing conservative elected officials. But, what do I know? Commercial real estate. There we go. So he's a developer. We've got a developer running for the the school board, not the city council. Perhaps he'd be more at home at city council somewhere. And let's see. We'll click on his endorsements here because I'm certain that we're going to see, oh, yes, it's all the same people. You know what? I got to be honest. Nothing surprises me anymore. It's just, you can't have anybody with a different opinion do anything. You just can't. Oh, hey, look, Pam Little endorsed him. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I think she's still mad that Chad ran against her. Oh, well, I mean, look, I'm not going to say he's not qualified because I don't believe that to be the case. I'm not going to say anything negative about the guy because I got nothing negative to say. It's just so interesting. They're going to go all in to run off the one guy that dares to ask questions. Oh, so he's got a bachelor's in kinesiology and English, a master's degree in both from Texas A&M Commerce. Oh, so he's another Aggie. How about that? Oh, he used to work at MISD. There we go. Oh, and he managed 225 coaches in the full fleet. So, yeah, he came out of the school system, and now he's going to run the school system. Yeah, that's no conflict of interest there. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, again, not going to say anything negative about him personally because I don't know him. I do like some of the stuff I see here. So, in fairness, he might not be a bad guy to have on there. But again, I suspect he's gonna do whatever he's told. He's not gonna question anything. He's gonna be part of that team of 8, which never really works well for the rest of us. And just in case you're wondering, the superintendent is still Sean Pratt. And in my opinion, the guy had to hire 4 subordinates to do the work that his predecessor was able to do with 2. He makes more money than his predecessor, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So I'm not really sure what in the world is going on with McKinney ISD, but hey, don't worry. They've got some new handpicked people to step in and take over that school district to make it all better. Now, just in case you're wondering, we went from a A-rated school district. I think we might be all the way down to a C, but we might just be a B-. So I'm really curious, how is doing more of the same with the more of the same kind of leadership that we've had going to net us a net positive? So I'm just going to be up front. Chad's not perfect. He is my friend. He's done a heck of a job getting beat up for 4 years, and he's going to do it for another 4. So if you want my recommendation, you go support Chad Green. Go find him online. Throw him some money. Throw him some support. Go get a sign. And on the other race, I mean, I don't know much about either one of these two, but just because it's another retread, I'm going to say it'd be my preference. You go out and find everything you can out about Deborah Klosky and give her a fair shake, because we need to do something different. We just need to do something in McKinney ISD. We are just not on the right path there. And one guy taking all the abuse all the time is not going to fix it. Just can't, not by himself. We need at least 2 solid people on there. They're going to ask questions, step out of the box, be willing to take a little abuse. That's just my opinion. And you can feel free to disagree with me all you want, but it's my show, and that's my call. So, all right. Closing thoughts here. At the end of the day, we're always faced with the very real prospect that somebody that we didn't choose, or perhaps we don't even think that highly of, wins the race. When you're dealing with a municipal race, there's a high probability you're going to run across that person that you didn't support, or somebody that you're not very favorable of. But I'm going to ask you. They say these are nonpartisan races. They are. Just be honest. And they say that, it's about working together for what's best. And that's supposed to be what it's at. It legitimately is what is supposed to be the case. But from what I've seen is, you're not allowed to question things. You're not allowed to have a different thought. You're not allowed to move in any way, shape, or form off of the scripted card. I don't think that serves anybody well. I don't think that's what's ideal for any of us in the city or the county. So, again, please do your own research. Come to your conclusion of who do you think is the best candidate. It doesn't mean the other candidates are terrible, although some could be. It doesn't mean that you hate any of those candidates. When I'm going to plead with you, don't hate on them, because they may be the elected official in 6 months, and you're going to need to be at peace with that. It's fine to go after policies. It's fine to doubt their principles. You just can't let it be personal. None of this should be personal. Well, folks, that's my thoughts. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed this McKinney Monday. It's election season again at the municipal level, and we'll revisit this again, I'm sure. And I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to find out some additional information and maybe get an interview or two. And for those of you that aren't aware, there is another podcast out there that is as McKinney-centric as you can get. Check out the McKinney podcast. They're linked through the McKinney Cares. Now, I got to be honest, McKinney Cares is hit or miss on whether it's actually useful or not, but they got a whole lot of people there, and there's a whole lot of information that does get passed around. So check it out. Invest your time, and go say hi to my my new friends James and Fred over at the McKinney Podcast. And with that, this has been According to Callus, and I will see you on the other side.
TexianPride.com is the destination for Texans who want to show off their love for Texas. We don't settle for mediocre. Our shirts are made from 100% high-quality athletic cotton. They're cool, comfortable, and designed to fit and flatter any body type. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Visit TexianPride.com for your next stylish Texas tee.